what's going on. What is happening? There we go. It should be unmuted. Yeah. Excellent.
I was reading one moment what we wrote, and I have the two questions.
Absolutely.
I think it's gonna be fast. The first is we went through the thing that when we are doing one pose, we target one area, and all the rest needs to be not active.
Correct.
So when you say not active, you mean that you have to relax all the rest of the body, or the not even relaxation? Just
so
like,
I wouldn't say it's not always going to be relaxed. So, and our first asana will actually show you that. So it's like, it still might be, it might be stacked or stretched, but it's not the target area. So like the first pose we're going to do is heart melting. The target area in this pose is going to be your upper back type thing, like up here and the middle. But when you're in this pose, those are the target areas, but you also might feel it in the neck because the neck is stretched out. And you also might feel it in, let's see, the shoulders and arms. but we don't want to be stressing the shoulders and arms while we're in this position. So it's not relaxing, but finding where you're comfortable that you can like almost chill. I wouldn't say relax, but like you're able to just sit here and just relax into it, but it might not feel relaxing to some people.
Okay, correct. I mean, got it.
Yeah, so if they're starting to notice they're in like heart melting pose and they're really supposed to be releasing their upper and middle back, but all they're feeling it is in their shoulders, then they're probably in too deep of a pose for heart melting.
Okay. And then I have one last question that maybe, I mean, I think it will get too long to be explained, but
no, you're fine.
Because when you say like that we can be both yin and yang together in the same time, this also concern our life choices, that we can be like great bosses in a big company, and then at the same time we can be a yogini, like as we are, like modern day yoga. Sometimes I find myself it's difficult for me to think in this way, because I'm always afraid to get controversial with myself, if you know what I mean. But
well,
like,
you can obviously tell I have no problem with that. So why I say that is because, so what my full-time job is right now is I do loan processing for a mortgage company, okay? But when I'm there to do my work. So I'm in there, I do mortgage and things like that, but I keep my yogic personality, meaning that if there's issues or conflicts, I go in nice and cool. I come in with a solution, not a problem. The old me would be like, you know what? I don't know what your problem is, but we need to fix this. And like, you don't need to be, it's difference between being the boss and being assertive. And it's like, you want to be the boss and assertive, and you can still be that way even though you're a yogi. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of us yogis get into a mind frame, like I said, oh, I'll teach you how to do this. Oh, I'll do that. And then there's no, but we're doing it for free. Okay. So it's like, you're doing all these things and then it's going to drain you. So for me, I say, I am absolutely a yogi in my heart, my mind, and my soul. And I'm going to act like that all the time, even when I'm in a busy environment and people are trying to make me not so yogi. You can be both, but you have to set your intention for the day. Now, I'll tell you right now, if I don't do my yoga before I go to work, I debate if I'm going to make it sometimes. So it's, you can be both. You can totally be, let's relax, let's figure out the solution to the problem. You can still be fast and you can still go. It's just that when you do that, you just need to know that you have to take your time to slow down, because when I'm at work, it's who I am. I'm a young person. So I'm like doing this. So when I get home, I know I need to I need to sit down. I need to release. I need to do my thing. So I can totally be that young person. I can run my young life. I can have that lifestyle, but I can only have that lifestyle for so long if I continue to bring yin into my life. Because too much of either, so think of it this way, we'll just relate it to emotions this way. Too much yang in anybody is going to cause those anxious feelings. Someone who feels like they need to go all the time, they're talking to my element in, that shows anxiety to me when people get that fired up. So it's like, you can be fired up and excited and still calm, I guess is the way that I'm trying to put that. So it's like, it is a hard concept because I think people get they think you need to be one or the other, but you need to have both in order to have a balanced day and end a story. I mean, people can say to me, like, I watch people who go, they're at the gym, they do their workout, but when they go to work, that's their yin part of their day. They sit behind a desk, they kind of type, they take their time with their day. It's just going to depend on your lifestyle, but making sure you find the balance for both.
Yeah.
Every day.
Okay. Thanks.
And it will get easier because I know I'm one of those people, you'll know this about me. Unless you're a very good friend with me, you'll never know my stance on politics. You'll never know my stance on like how long I've done this stuff. I'm real big on like, because I have gotten into a lifestyle where people legit will look at me and be like, oh, crystals, because that works. And I was like, maybe not for you. I don't I just kind of let things go as they be, because here's the thing, just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work for me. And if this crystal sitting in my office is helping me stay calm and not freak out on you, I think you should love the crystal as well.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think the only time people are going to get really worked up with you or controversial or anything like that, people get like that with the unknown period. So anything new to them or something that they don't do on the daily, you know, they're just gonna, it might not be as easy for them. I will agree with you on that. It does make me laugh though, because this has been my intention with yoga since I started 10 years ago. I want to be both. I want to be the yogi, but I also want to know when I need to be powerful and assertive and do my thing. But you can have both those energies still being a yogi. I don't know why people think, I'm the first one to say this, I'm a 100%, I call myself a rogi. I'm a rogue yogi, because I am not all love and light all the time. Meaning I am, but if someone gets nasty with me, I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, go on. Oh, you just seem like you're really upset. If someone got nasty with me, I would look at them and be like, hey, is there anything I can do to help change this attitude? It's finding a way to like interact with all energies, because most people are young and too young. And when you're too young, anger comes up easily, frustration comes out easily. What's the other one? Not guilt, shame. Anger, frustration, and shame. And when people are feeling that, for some reason, those are the top projectors. People will start projecting that towards you. So I always kind of like, when people get like that and they're all worked up, I'll be like, you good now? And like they get very taken back that I'm not going to fight back, but that's the yogi in me. You getting upset and being like that has nothing to do with me. That is all you. So I'm going to let you hold your space. I'm going to chill. And then you let me know when you're good. So it is hard to have it in both, because people also associate this as like a religion. So I think people automatically want to start with you on that. And it's just like, it's nothing to do with religion. My practice is dedicated to myself almost every day, just to be a better person than I was yesterday. So you'll get better in time though, because this is like, I call this the beginning yogi thing, where like we don't know when we can and can't say something, but I say that because we're still a little nervous. Once you know this is it, I say things now. Before, people would question me and come back at me. Now when I say stuff, people are like, that's interesting. Nobody fights with me anymore, because I don't say it with like, you must believe me type thing. And I think a lot of people are like that. Well, if you don't do yoga, you'll never get better. You can't say stuff like that to people either. Like, gotta let people do their own thing. Yeah. Well, we can talk about that more. No worries. But I'm going to do a little bit of the workshop today. We're going to go over about 5 asanas.
Yeah.
And I am 100% going to go through every modification. So bear with me, because there are a ton of people that aren't going to be able to do certain things. Oh, I love it. Your little space is all set up. Yes. So like I said, when you start, they definitely still want a yoga mat. I even sometimes in my yin practice, I'll throw a blanket on top of the yoga mat so they have extra cushion, just something for you to know. And then, like I said, like you have, I have all my props at the top of this mat here, so I can grab them very easily. The first pose that we were talking about is heart melting pose, which we both know from Hatha. So heart melting pose can be very challenging for people, especially if you have shoulder injuries. So the first thing is full on heart melting pose is going to be, the hips are stacked over the knee, right? The feet back here can either be, I always say this to people, they can be tucked or untucked. This is more for stability for people, and then once they get comfortable, they'll untuck their toes. I let people tuck or untuck. It's going to be up to them. So once they find that place with them, then their first move I'm going to show you full on so that we can go from propping from here. But once they go here, what they're going to do is they're going to walk forward, and they're going to let this part of their body go down to the ground. So as you can see, my butt is still in the air, and my spine is still a bit aligned. I got a little bit of a curve in it. And then you walk your hands out, and then the hand comes down. Once you get the head down to the ground, then the chest will melt, as you can see. Now to come out of this, you can either walk your hands back up, or you can tell them to slide forward and come down on the belly.
Yeah.
So the reason why I say this with this one, I could not do this pose for a while because what would end up happening is when I walked forward, my shoulders would get stiff and my chest wouldn't release. So that's full on heart melting, which I'm going to tell you a lot of people can't do. My favorite thing to do with everybody who's heart melting is this simple. You're going to tell them to grab their big bolster, put it onto the mat, and they're literally just going to lay probably right where the bra strap would come. So you just say mid to upper back can go on here, and then you lay and and you can adjust it. And also, sorry, I grab a pillow because I don't like my neck falling back like that. Okay. So I can put a pillow back here. There we go. So basically, the same intention's happening. This part of my body is what is wanting to be opened. Now, some people can totally lay back like this, give it a full-on stretch, or they can put a pillow behind here, and the legs are straight. So arms are out to a T, legs are straight, and the only thing propped up is that chest. So that specific spot in the heart melting pose. And like I said, you can put a prop by the head or not. Totally up to you. Some people might even need to do a block. So it's a little higher. Mm-hmm. And their neck is not crouching. This is still giving you the same stretch. But now their neck is just not working as hard or opening as hard.
Yeah. The legs are straight?
Legs are straight.
Okay.
Yep. So, and then the legs can be either close together, hip distance apart, or they can open them a little bit more. They can kind of play with that. So this is legit the easiest heart melting pose you can do in Yin. I teach this a lot because so many people are tight in their shoulders. And I usually do get most people to get a pillow to catch their head because I know people have neck issues. So I kind of think along those lines. Now, if you didn't want to do it on the back, the few things you could do, so we'll turn here again. So first thing, you still want to make sure you have this alignment with the body back here. So we're going to get that out of the screen a little. And then the first thing you can do is you can make forearms like this, just right one in front of another. And you hold yourself. So you stack the forearms, make sure that the elbows are kind of under the shoulders. Hands can be down or up, however you feel comfortable. And you're still doing that same pose with your back end, but now you're just putting your head down to your forearms. Once you do that, the shoulders go up and the chest comes forward, still giving you that same motion.
That's true. I never did this.
Oh, you've never done heart melting?
Not this with the elbows.
Ah, yes. So this is more of like, when people want to get into it, but they know they can't go that far. Once you put the head down, you kind of relax. The shoulders kind of, I wouldn't say release, but they allow the chest to open more and come down closer to the ground.
Yeah.
But while you're here, you can actually walk the hands out a little if that's feasible to you. Take one arm and stretch it out long in front of you and put your forehead onto the forearm. So it's still the same pose, but you're going a little deeper and keeping one arm elongated. So you can be all the way out while the head is down. There's still that intention with the back of the legs. And people are going to have to adjust and find that sweet spot. Then once they're here, remind them, heart melting. So make sure this front chest, this area is cracking open. So we want this part going towards the floor. Some people also with this arms down here, if they don't have strong shoulders, the shoulders can buckle. So that's why I do modifications with this most of the time. So the other thing we can do is you can bring the bolster in and you can actually, it's almost like laying the belly and chest on here. So still those same legs. And then once you come down, you put this on the chest and you walk the arms out. So it's almost like a modified child's pose almost at the same time. But this here You can walk it out and get it to right below the rib cage and walk your arms out. And then that chest is going to melt towards the ground. Whoop. There we go. So still giving you that opening in the front of the rib cage and the front of the shoulders. And the arms can come out long for sure. Then the other one would be, I don't have blocks, so I'm just going to use this. But as you walk down and bring your chest down, you can place your hands on the bolster and then let your chest melt. I wonder if I can get this to go long ways. Can we go long ways, buddy? Come on, buddy. No. No, you're not. It's fine. Gotta use my computer tomorrow. But so with this one, it's basically same thing. And then you just walk down on the bolster instead. You can place your forehead on the bolster if you're not comfortable dropping the chest all the way. But once you feel comfortable, let the chest melt and the forehead. This way you're still getting the opening in the upper back and middle back. So like I said, when I go to teach this, I would tell them, you should feel an opening in the upper and middle back. And this chest should be releasing or opening up. And that should be releasing. So chest opening, back is releasing. But you may feel your neck in this, like if it's stretching or anything like that. And you also may feel, what's the other one? Oh, if your shoulders and arms are just really tight. Some people, even though you tell them to walk their hands out straight, some people are going to be more comfortable if their arms are walked out to the side a little. So making sure that people know that, because if you can see here, I'm double jointed. It's really creepy. Same? Yeah. Dancer life. So we just have to be really careful when we get into these asanas, you know? So just remember, just because we're super flexible, we have to watch for a hyperextension. So for us, if you go to catch something and your arms are in together, look at that. How uncomfortable and awful does that look? Yeah. So we want to make sure that our arms are spread. Elbows are still kind of bent so we don't lock anything out. That's the big thing. You will hear me say that a lot. Got to watch the elbows, unlock them. So remember, with the intention of this pose, hips are stacked, usually over the knees. When you get into full pose, it's totally normal if your back end goes back a little. I'm not saying all the way into child's pose, but if you start going forward and like maybe your hips go like that a little, that's okay, as long as you're not feeling anything anywhere. It doesn't have to be completely stacked, but if it leans a little, totally acceptable. But some people are going to be more comfortable like that with the flat feet or the tucked. Yeah. I'd say if you tuck the feet, it's going to make it a lot easier personally. That's my personal opinion. So sometimes I let people tuck it, give them that intention. So most important thing to know, to start out in this pose, you can start in tabletop and then get them to walk out. I tend to, like I said, I love the prop. I love it. Just get them to lay down and open that chest because it's so tight on everybody. So either any of those are totally acceptable. Also, full child's pose, or anytime they get to put their forehead to the floor, if there's a little space, they can put a blanket in there for cushioning, obviously. I'm missing something. Where's my note? I know I'm missing something. Oh, I told you how to get out of it. So either walk your arms back into tabletop, or they can slither onto their belly, whatever way is going to be easier for them. And then, no, I think I got it all. One thing in any asana, when you go to walk these things out and let people get into these asanas, just remind, like if they feel tingling or pinching in their arm, they need to come out because they're cutting off circulation to a nerve if they have a tight neck. So think that in yin, so we have contraindications or things they shouldn't, if they have it, they shouldn't practice it. Yeah. I don't believe that wholeheartedly all the time, because if you're going to try to move the neck out, you just got to know what's going on. So they're just saying that if you have a really bad neck, we want to make sure that we're catching the head somewhere. So you don't want to be doing this with the neck. So going all the way back. So we just want to watch the neck here, and then, like I said, the tingling. So if their neck is tight and the arms are out, that's going to be time for them to walk out of it. So I let people, if they can't breathe through it or it becomes too intense, I tell them, just remind yourself you have permission to back off a little or come out of the pose completely. I do tend to go into child's pose after this because I think it's easier after everybody's been melting that chest forward. If you're in regular child's pose, unless you're me, because I can't do that with my chest, unfortunately. But coming into child's pose is going to give you that round back again. So we're doing this here, and then this is kind of like the opposite action. So, and you don't have to do opposite action for any asana here. I'm just saying that sometimes it's nice to let people into child's pose after this, just because it seems to flow for them very easily. All right. Questions about heart melting pose?
Do you have to squeeze the shoulder blades in?
Nope.
Or just with the gravity? You just
let
release
gravity
yourself.
take over. Absolutely. Because that's the other thing. You're going to notice if you're in a pose a while, I'm glad you brought that up. You'll feel like you're squeezing in some area. Like after you've been breathing there for 2 minutes, you're like, oh my God, I've been squeezing this for this whole time. And you let it go, your whole body will go and release exactly what's into it. That's normal in yin practice. Some days you'll feel like you're super tight in something or super loose. And then one day you're like, what's happening here? So yeah. All right, heart melting. It's fun stuff. All right. Yes. Perfect. Now, the next one, we do not practice in hatha. Well, I guess some people do, but this is more of a yin thing. We do something called an ankle stretch. So this is phenomenal. You're going to love this because you're a dancer. I know this already. So basically, ankle stretch and 10-toe stretch, it just burns so good. It just feels so good when you do it because it's not something we intentionally do every day. Now with dancing, obviously we point a lot, so we do open up this front ankle, but how much do we do that in our regular routine of life anymore? So when you come into your ankle stretch, if they have weak ankles, they're not going to do this. So if someone is prone to rolling their ankle a lot, I'm not going to recommend this. I don't know if you know this, but injury-wise, once someone rolls their ankle, they're most likely to do it again. So I just watch if people have ankle injuries, they just don't do this at all. Not at all.
Okay.
I will say that this can be quite painful if you don't have enough cushioning under you. So you can put a blanket under you before you start if you would like. Then I don't let people with knee replacements do this as well. So if they have anything bionic in their body, I call it. So if they've got metal in their knees or ankles, nope, not letting them do this either. And then I tell people, have the intention of doing it, but if it feels uncomfortable to you immediately, just don't do it anymore because this is not a stretch for everybody. So getting into the pose is actually very simple. It's like just sitting on your heels. So that's the first part. So I just look like I'm sitting on my heels, which is great. So we go from here. And then as we go deeper, you're going to find that adjustment. So knees don't have to be touching. There might be some space in between your legs. Just make sure you feel the heel bone kind of close to your sits bones, whether it's a little to the side or right behind them or on them. So just find like a comfortable spot. Then once you're here, place your fingers like gentle on here and just gently lift your knees to see how it feels to you. So we're just lifting the knees. Okay? Awesome. So all this is doing is going to be stretching out our ankle. So eventually your full-on ankle stretch is going to look like this. You're going to kind of lean back a little and you're going to have no hands. So this takes time to build strength in the ankles to do this. As you know, a ton of people are not going to be able to get into this, but they want to stretch their ankle. So this big bolster here is too big. So what I would suggest, I have this is my little tiny bolster, is I'll tell them to just pick up their knees a little and put that under there. Just a little lift is going to make you feel that stretch in the front of that ankle. So just having a little lift, and then this way, you're not intentionally doing it. You're letting the prop do the work for you. Now, even though we're stretching the ankle, you should feel this in the front of the shin as well, because that's elongating it. So your pronus and all of that, your peroneus muscles. So you should not feel it anywhere else. You should be all loosey-goosey up here, like we're not, you're sitting with intention, but not like at attention. And you're just focusing on the knees being lifted a little and opening the stretch in the ankle. Now, when we come out of it, I just get people to lean forward and like kind of tap it out in case they need that circulation back in their feet. So this is not something everyone can do, like I said, but what we can do is a few other things. So I did show you, here's the one. You can put the little prop up there, and then you can get them to grab blocks as well, so they have some stability, so they feel stable. So it's a prop under the knees and then 2 props by the hands, and they don't have to lean back. So you can lean forward, or not like forward, but like you can stay here, hands are stacked, and you can just let the knees do the pillow do the stretching for you. Then if you can, for some people, you don't lift the ankle at all. You're just gonna sit here and you're gonna take 2 blocks. So 1 block here and 1 block here. You're not gonna lift the ankles. You're just gonna kind of push into the blocks and lift your body. So it's like you're pushing up a little, but your arms are stacked. You're not making them active. You're just using the props. But when you do this and you don't lift the knees, you're getting the same stretch in the front of the body, in that front of that ankle. So it looks just like this. I am not doing anything but sitting intentionally. My heels are within my sits bones. And then I just take my hands and I kind of align myself and I gently stack the arms, but press into the blocks. If you notice, if you're doing this, you can feel it still in the front of those ankles. So it's still giving yourself a little lift, but it's giving that stretch. And then if this is too much for people, they don't want to lift the ankles, they can also keep the ankles down like this, so flat, but then they're going to walk their hands back. So legs are still attached to the ground, but now you're walking your hands back. And like I said, just make sure your hands are in a place where they're stackable. And I'm not going to say comfortable because it's not always comfortable, but to the point where they're not activating and shaking with you in the pose. So finding a way to relax like this back there, and then breathing the intention into the ankles. So all 3 versions of those are going to stretch that front ankle out, no problem. So another thing I'll tell people, I guess this is rock pose. I hear it in so many different ways in Hatha, but it's just sitting on your heels. If you sit on your heels long enough, you will eventually stretch out that front foot. So think simplicity before we get too into it. But then if you're just sitting there with intention, then you can add the blocks to add a little bit more pressure. And then from there, you can walk it back. And then from there, you can eventually start lifting the knees and propping at the front with blocks. And then your next step would be just the block under the knees like I showed you in the beginning. So you have all different steps, but this is also something you are not going to hold for 3 minutes. This is one of those Yin specialties. Now, can you personally work your way up to sit there for 3 minutes like that? Absolutely. But I would never say more than 3 minutes. It's not something you're going to hold beyond that. Mainly because I think it would be really strenuous and it'd start getting intense on your knees. Ah, look at that. The book says the same exact thing I just said. It said 1 to 3 minutes, especially if the sensations are relatively intense. You may eventually be able to sit like this for a very long time. So it's like, you just want to make sure in this practice, we don't hold it for more than 3. I usually just do a 1 minute and I add in the 10-toe stretch with it, which I am going to do since we're on the ankle thing anyway.
Yeah.
So a lot of times these 2 go hand in hand. So someone will do the ankle stretch and then we'll come forward and basically, very simply, we tuck all 5 of our toes. And as we go into this, some people are only going to be able to stay here. So they're going to stay in tabletop with their toes tucked. That's fine. Then I'm going to tell other people to slightly just start dropping their heels towards, or their hips towards their heels. So going back like this, but keeping the arms connected. And some people are going to go, oh, I feel it. I'm good there. And I say, okay, then just stay and breathe here for a moment. But then obviously the more intense you come up forward, you can eventually sit and open up all the energetic lines that are at the bottom of the feet. Because think about it, how much do we stretch our feet out like this during practice? All that much. Not much, to be honest. So this is also something we don't hold for a long time, but over time you will be able to sit here and do this for quite some time. I mean, I sat here talking to someone like this for like 2 minutes the other day and I was like, oh, whoa. And then I got up and then I was like, woo, victory. So it's just finding that intention, but this is very intense for people. And I'm going to tell you to end it the same way you do with the ankle stretch. Let it out and tap it out for sure.
Yeah.
Just let them tap out that intention. Schwan. Toe squat. There it is. It's going to say. So when it comes to this one, though, with the toe squat, if they have knee injuries, I'm not doing it with them, or I'm going to tell them to stay away. So if their ankles are super tight as well. So if it has anything to do with the lower extremity of the leg, if they have any injuries down there, I'd say no ankle stretch or 10-toe stretch. So anything from the knee down, lower extremity of the leg. So, and just how I showed you, you want to just start like in all fours, then you can come all the way up, and then you can take a seat. However they want to stretch it out, because some people will also do this for a while, where they tuck the toes and they just go up like this, because that'll still give you a deep stretch as well. So they can come here and then they can sit if they would like, but I tend to usually do the tabletop because not a lot of people are very open in the bottom of their feet like this. They're not a huge fan, but I will say people who have plantar fasciitis, which is basically all of the fascia in the bottom of your foot is constantly pulling, so it feels tight as heck. They love this. They love this. So even if it's just for a few minutes or a few seconds to breathe in it, they're like, woo, when they come out. Sometimes they need a minute, but it's going to release all of that tension in the bottom of the foot and around the ankle as well. And then one last thing that they can also do is having the toes tucked and sticking a bolster here. So they can still tuck the toes, have the bolsters in the middle. You might have to adjust your feet a little, but then this way they're sitting on something and it's not as intense, but they're still getting that stretch. So you can ride the bolster, as I call it, riding the bolster. Toe stretch, ankle stretch. Yes. All right, all right, all right. Questions about 10-toe stretch?
No.
You're like, let me think. No. Cool. All right. Yes, let's do this. All right. So next one I'm going to cover is what I was talking about the other day or today earlier, that when you start your practice, one of the easiest ones to start in is butterfly. Yeah. So, sure, right page here, there we go. Butterfly can be super, super duper prop happy for people. So obviously, full version of butterfly is gonna be our heels and feet and toes all connected here. And then the ankles are either close in or you can walk them out if you want the knees to drop further. So finding your butterfly at first. And then the difference between Hatha and Yin, in Hatha we would tell you to straighten out your back and walk it down until your back isn't straight anymore. So I would stop about here. Well, in Yin, what they're gonna tell you is they're gonna tell you to come here and then walk it down and relax. So you can totally round your back in Yin. It is not about keeping a straight spine. It is about relaxation and stillness with other places. So it's allowing that back to go, oh, relax. But if you come down here, you can also use props here. So maybe the head doesn't go all the way down, so you grab a block or something, put it in front of your feet to catch your forehead. So this is if you're in full on. You can also, with butterfly, like I told you before, take this bolster and stick it in the back, get your butterfly legs on, and then I always tell people, put the bolster onto your low back and then push it out just a little bit, so there's a little room. So when you go down, you can adjust yourself. So legs are still in butterfly, but now the spine is aligned on the bolster. My head is actually on the bolster as well. But now I'm creating a shoulder opening in the front of the chest and also doing butterfly. So this is Supta Baddha Konasana, so reverse butterfly. I was like, oh, this feels so good, I don't want to get up. All right. So that's one version that I like to do, and I will use that version in my opening meditation. Also, if people's knees are all the way up here, quick and simple, sometimes you're even going to have to grab 2 big bolsters for somebody, not blocks, because their knees are so high up. So I tell people that because your bolster is basically the size of a block when it's flat, but if you prop it up, it's like 2 blocks. And some people, mainly men, their knees are going to be up this high.
Yeah.
Just be ready. And they're going to look around and be like, oh man, and be like, nope, you're here. And this will go down a little. I'm never going to say they're going to get here like me, but it will eventually release a little. So anytime they have their knees up, blankets can go right under here. If they decide they want to walk down, but maybe they're staying like this, they can grab blocks to place on here and like relax that way. Yeah. You can do it against the wall. So, which I'll go over in wall yin because we do a workshop on that. But you can absolutely do it on the wall. Put your butt towards the wall, make butterfly on the wall. If someone has super duper high hips, or they know they need support like this, they can also put the bolster like this with their feet here. This is more likely with men. If you put the bolster under here and both their knees can prop, they're gonna feel so comfortable to just go like this. This is actually, I love this even for me. So this is just a great one for you to relax and like kind of release that upper back, the low back or the back at all, and have it come down. So if I'm here and maybe I want some extras, I can grab something to put my forehead on. It's usually a block, but I'm very colorful with my pillows right now. And then if someone, because this does happen, their feet can't touch, but they can do butterfly. So I've seen this before. So someone came in and they were like butterfly, and like this much space was there. And I kept trying to bring their, and they're like, it just doesn't work like that, which means that they probably have a short pronus longus in the front of their leg. So all I do is give them something, because you kind of want to press your feet together. So I just put the block there to give them the same intention. So if they put the block there and press the feet together for a while, it will eventually release a little bit. So they can also do that. And then you also have a prop. It's a double prop. So put it between your feet and then the head can come down as well. Yeah, I'm all about the props. I like people feeling relaxed in class. So another thing, last thing you can do is if someone has really tight hips and knees as well, doing all of these things, everything I showed you, they can always take a bolster and stick it under their sit bones. If they do that, what happens is they rise up their hips a little automatically, and their pelvic pitch, as I call it, so posterior or anterior, posterior. When you sit on sit bones, you get right in the middle. It's like that bowl of water. So some people are going to need this, probably maybe through the whole class. If people are sitting on their sits bones, it's going to be much easier for them to get into asanas, because automatically the hips being up is going to allow the knees to drop deeper. Let's see here what we got. And this is just a very simple one to get into. You can just get them to sit on their sit bones and then have them walk their feet together, knees out. This is a pose that can aggravate people's sciatic nerve. So if someone complains of sciatica a lot, I am definitely going to make them bolster under their butt. So if they complain that they have sciatic nerve issues, I'm just going to tell them to sit on a block or sit on a blanket, because that'll immediately alleviate some of it. If that doesn't alleviate all of it, they might just have to sit instead of folding forward, which is fine. I love this. Many knees don't like this pose. Yes. So people who have knee injuries, this isn't going to be their favorite. That's why using the props to keep their knees up to give it a little bit more flexibility is really good for them. Another one, the hip replacement. So if they've got metal in their hips, there's no leaning forward in this or leaning back. They're probably not even going to be able to get to their feet to do this. If they have metal hip replacement, it's probably going to look like this, which is fine. Then I would just tell them to put a bolster under their knees and let their legs kind of go out. Like, I wouldn't even get them to do butterfly. I would just be like, that's fine. If you feel like you can't do butterfly, bolster up the knees onto the thing, and then you can kind of put your ankles together. And I legit look like this right now. It's not even anything crazy.
Yeah.
So it's literally just that. So it's just going to depend on the person as well. And then what else? Yeah, that's it. So all the contraindications, or the things that they say you shouldn't practice with this one, is all going to be hip related issues. So people who don't have the flexibility in the hips absolutely want to do this. But if they have hip issues, like something is actually diagnosed by a doctor, it could be too intense for them. So that's why I would like do what I just showed you, or I would just let them lay starfish on the mat, like a mini Shavasana. No big deal.
Okay.
Let's see. Anytime you come out of a yin pose, I always tell them to go as slow as their breath. So if someone's down here in butterfly, I'm going to tell them on their next inhale to take it up nice and slow. And I literally go this slow in front of them, because I don't think we realize how deep we go. And some people will just try to pop up, and that's also not going to be good for the lower back. So we want to take everything slow and intentional. And you can definitely hold this from 3 to 5 minutes, according to the book. You can hold butterfly for up to 10. So it's, and I'm sure further along the way, you can probably hold it a lot longer as well. Then, if someone cannot do butterfly, but wants to get into it, we have half butterfly. And you can do all the same propping on half butterfly. So making sure they just have the one leg out, but if their leg is like that, you can throw a bolster under the knee for them. So this would be half butterfly for them. Now, some people want to know, is the foot supposed to touch the thigh or whatever? It doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that it's a half butterfly and your heel is kind of in the midline of your body, towards the midline of your body. So heel towards the midline. Whether it touches the thigh or not, that's not relative at all. Huge thing you can do here is prop right under the butt. So people are elevated, so they'll be able to go deeper. Once you prop that up, they can also, if you need to with the knee can get propped so the knee's not falling down to the ground if it's too intense. Like I said before, you can throw this under the knee so that the hamstring is getting its time to release as well. Then you have a few options with half butterfly. We can come forward, or we can go to the leg that's stretched out. So half butterfly is actually one of mine I use in yin all the time, because then I'll eventually go into wide-legged forward fold. So it's like, do butterfly, but then you can also do half butterfly too, to get them deeper into the hamstring. Or you can do these one at a time and then do butterfly, just whatever your intention is for that day. So when you go to do this, if you go towards the side and you want to come down, you can absolutely use a prop to catch your head. Just never, ever, ever place it on the knee. So make sure it's placed on the thigh if you want your head to rest, or if it goes further, just on the lower leg. Just don't ever put a prop on the knee. Other people are not going to be able to hold this very long, but they want to do that side stretch. So they're here, but they go like this and they're like, oh. So what I will tell them to do is bring this foot up like this, put their arms around, and then place their forehead on their knee. So it's not like having a prop, just placing this right here. So we're still getting that twist that we need. We're still doing the half butterfly, but we're just not focusing on this hamstring as much because it's super tight. So all of these are acceptable. And when you do this, it's going to make this a lot easier to fall down. You just notice my knee just like hit the ground like that. But if I go to like move this down, my knee comes up. I know that's really hard to say. It's funnier that way. So you have your prop, your legs here, goes all the way down. Then I just go to stretch this out. So this is the little things that the human body does that we may not pay attention to, but that's the kind of stuff that I notice. So just let people know, like let them find their spot. And obviously, sorry, I'll even it out now, but make sure they find their spot. Now, like I said, this is great because then they just get to relax kind of, and they're just focusing on the half butterfly. But like I said, some people are going to stretch like this. Others are going to do this up and over like that as well. I would not recommend holding the up and over for like 5 minutes or 3 minutes. I mean, maybe do this for a minute and then go down to the leg like this way. Just depends on how you play, because this is not going to be super comfortable for a lot of people to hold for 3 to 5 minutes. And plus they're going to be doing like adjusting their spine and all of that other stuff. So sometimes I'll say, all right, guys, up and over, breathe here for a minute, bring it back to center, walk yourself back to your thigh, and bring it down. So it's like you got that side body stretch in, but now you're getting the full effects of the half butterfly. And it will look a little funny to some people, but having the prop under you, but I think that's the best intention for a lot of people. If someone also wants to do this stretch and their leg doesn't work like that, they can do their leg this way. But then I feel like you're just going into half hero or half whatever, I think they call it saddle in this. So I try to stick with whatever you can do with this foot like this. But okay. It is in here. That's why I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
Like, why would you do that? That's another modification for something else. But I love it. All right, let's see. Side, side, prop, bent. Got them all. All right. This is another one. Just know, rule of thumb, if we're leaning forward in anything, it can aggravate sciatic nerve. So if someone, like I said, has sciatic issues, just let them know, and maybe just don't have them go as far. Watch for people with low back issues here. If they begin to feel a sharp pain in their knee, they must immediately stop. Immediately, because for some reason, their knee is getting overstretched somehow. So just make sure that they back off of that. But like I said in the beginning of class, just tell them pain is temporary. If it stays, then we need to move. Yeah, that's good. The bent knee. Yep, place support under the bent knee. Perfect, perfect. What else I got here? You can hold any of these variations from anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 minutes. So I usually sometimes will do 5 minutes. I do 1 or 2 minutes, like I said, like this, and then I will do the side. And sometimes I'll hold it for 7 and I'll make you walk to the middle for the last 2 minutes. So you can have fun with this. So they can lean forward or towards the leg with this. But this helps a lot of people open up those hips very, very easily. And just like I said with this, the same thing. Once they're done their breathing, they need to slowly, slowly come up. Slowly, slowly, slowly. All right. Wow. That's the last one we're going to do for right now.
Which one?
The half butterfly. That was the last one.
Okay. But we didn't do the banana.
Oh, because I was going to open with that tomorrow. Do you want to do it real quick? We can.
Oh, no. I was just wondering.
Oh, no. Now we're doing it. All right. So banana asana.
Okay.
So the reason why I get excited about this is because a lot of people do not think this is like an intense one, but it is. If you are doing it right, it can be intense. So how you're going to start in this asana is you're going to get everybody to lay on their back. Then once everybody's laid on their back, I choose a side. Are we going to kick out to the right or to the left? It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I just choose which side I'm going to go to. The most important part of banana asana is the shoulders and the hips need to be grounded. I see people pull their shoulders up. I see people have a lifted hip, and then they're like, I don't feel anything. No wonder, because you're not doing the pose correctly. So I tell everybody, make sure your intention is that both shoulder blades are on the ground. Now, everybody thinks their arms need to be like this and like beautiful. No, some people's arms aren't even going to touch. So when I talk people into banana asana, so just the top part of the body, I'll tell them, shoulder blades are on the ground. Bring arms up overhead. Take that right hand, bring it over. Bring the left arm over to meet it. Does not need to touch, but shoulder still needs to remain on the ground. Most people are not going to be able to touch their arms and not have their shoulder come off the ground once we're laying down. It is just a fact. I've watched it happen. So I do my best to not even let them engage catching their arms together. So I get them to walk the one out, and then I get them to bring the other one up to meet. They can even bend this elbow to meet it, just as long as the shoulder is still down. So they should be feeling an opening from the bottom of the shoulder to the bottom of the rib cage. That's just with the upper arm. They should feel that whole rib cage opening and stretching. Then once you add the legs into it, it's going to deepen it. So when you go to do the legs, it's the same thing. Say I'm laying down. We'll just pretend I'm laying down so you can see this. And then I'm going to tell them to walk their leg out like the other one and bring the other foot over, hips still connected. Then they should feel it from the hip to the under the shoulder. So this is the only thing they should feel opening and elongating, even a little into the triceps and biceps for some people. But what a lot of people do is that their shoulder comes up or their hip comes up, and then they automatically cross their ankle, because that deepens the stretch. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to get into that banana asana, feel the stretch, because you should feel it if you keep walking yourself out enough. And then if you'd like to deepen the stretch, you can bring the opposite ankle over, and it will deepen the stretch here. But I see people try to deepen the stretch. That shouldn't be deepening the stretch. That's what the issue is. So when I tell people that they need to make sure that the shoulders and hips are connected, it's a good thing. Some people are going to have such tight muscles that when they have their leg intentionally to the side and it's still grounded, it's still going to want to go like this, right? Because it's like, pull me back, I'm stretching too much. You can tell them to stick a prop right by that leg or ankle so it doesn't keep flailing. So the stretch can stay, but then the leg's getting trained to stay still. Just because it's moving doesn't mean it's like super tense for them. It just might not be a way that they lay a lot. So they can put the prop there so the legs don't waver. The other one is they do have pictures of sandbags in here, but I think it's basically to keep the hip down that usually comes up. And I'm not going to disagree with the sandbag there, because some people are naturally going to flip up with the way that their body is built. So with the sandbag there, I'm really not sad about it, but they also, you can put a prop under the ankles if it's too intense. You can lift the ankles up a little off the ground. So there's definitely different ways to do it. And then my favorite way, the lazy man way, just grabbing the bolster, having the hip here, and having the rib cage go along. Having the rib cage go along and coming all the way down. Now I am creating, and I'm going to bring this arm up as well. Now I am creating that same stretch from here down to my hips, and legs are straight. So legs are straight and arms are straight. And you can relax here and breathe. The problem is what people do in this, you should stay here and breathe and relax. People tend to start coming forward. So they're not doing the stretch. So I always tell people to like come here, and if they need to take this top leg and put it behind them so they don't tend to come forward or backward. So they can bend their knees a little in this if they need to. This is also one of my favorite things to do at the end of the day, because how much do we really stretch out our rib cage like this? So you can even put your knees in like a bent shape. They don't have to be elongated if you don't want them to be. So it's basically same thing. Now we're just creating the space. We're using the prop to push out the one side of the rib cage. I love this. Gotta even it out. Gotta even it out. So yeah, it's just all about that hip alignment, making sure you know from the shoulder to the hip. You even might have to adjust yourself. Like I said, legs can stay long or you can bend them and then just bring this arm up and over. Now, some people, that's going to be too intense to even bring the arm up and over. So sometimes I'll tell people if they need to, they can just rest their hand here, like onto the bolster. But as long as their back is still, or even going like this, so they don't roll forward. So any of these ways are absolutely acceptable. But if people are going to be flat on the floor, no hips rising, and no shoulders rising, a lot of people cannot seem to get that down. I was guilty in the beginning, so that's why I say it like that.
This
One
you
thing,
can do it. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You can use this variation also if you have one pregnant woman.
So if you have a pregnant woman, you can absolutely use this. She's going to go on the floor, and she can do what I did with the knees bent. Her knees will have to be bent. But if she goes on the floor, you're just going to prop like a blanket under the hip that would normally come off the ground. And the reason we do that is because with pregnant women, their bodies become way more flexible and what is that word? Laxative, I think it is. Lax, not laxative. So their muscles become more lax because the body is preparing for birth. So for them, we are going to stick a blanket under the hip that usually comes up because it's going to come up on them regardless because they have so much pressure in the front of their belly. So putting that blanket under that hip is going to alleviate any of that round ligament pain or that pain that they get on the sides. Have you ever been pregnant before?
No.
Okay, either have I. I just know because my little sister just had a baby, so I made her do all this yin stuff, and I was like, give me some feedback. What's happening? She was like, ooh, when you put that under there, it took all of the pain away in my hip. So it's like, her hip still needed to be, stretched, but it was painful, so she didn't know what to do. So I put her in Banana Asana and started prepping her, and she loved it. So it's one of those things where it's like, you just want to work with the pregnant lady. So they can absolutely do the bolster on the side too, because the belly's going to rest on the bolster. And they can stretch their rib cage. There's no real contraindication for pregnant people in this particular asana. It's just that, if their hip comes up, you let their hip come up. But if you're not pregnant, no hip come up. Rule of thumb. So, and most of the time they're going to tell you the reason why we prop under the hip is because they tell most pregnant ladies not to lay on their back. Yeah. And the reason why they do that is because there's I think it's the vena cava. I think that's the vein it's called, but it'll cut off all circulation to the bottom of their legs. It ain't going to kill them. But like if they lay somewhere that long, they're going to try to move and be like, I can't feel my legs. It'll come back, but we cut off that circulation. So also putting that prop under the hip is not allowing her body to be completely flat on the back and to allow that vein the vena cava to not get all clogged up. So yes, this is an excellent one for pregnant ladies. They love it. But to touch back onto butterfly as well, they can do full butterfly, half butterfly. We didn't do much with that with her because she didn't like it. But we did butterfly and let her lay back and she loved it. Now, not every pregnant woman's going to be able to do that if they don't have a super strong core, I guess not super strong, but if they don't have any core strength, leaning back on a bolster and butterfly might be uncomfortable to their belly. So it's just kind of finding that intention for people, for sure. Okay. And every pregnant lady is going to be different because some people are going to be uncomfortable in one spot and some are uncomfortable in the other. Yeah. But yeah, so this is definitely one of those that you can use for pregnancy. Like I said, butterfly as well. No heart melting pose. No ankle stretch. What else did we go through? 10-toe stretch, probably not. No, I'm going to say no. And then, yeah. Butterfly and where is it? Yeah. Butterfly for pregnant ladies, they're going to do Supta Baddha Konasana. So like I said, the prop behind them, but what I was forgetting, that's why I looked. Bolsters or blocks under their knees as well. So
Okay.
that way, because they're pregnant, so they're going to think that they're way more flexible than they are. So we just have to catch their knees so they don't go past further. I hate to say this to people, but they can rip a lot of stuff down there if they go further than they need to. It is possible to rip muscles in their pelvic floor, and that will not be fun when they're going to give birth. So, and other rule of thumb with pregnant people is just reminding yourself they just need to be able to create space. So nothing that we're going to do this with, like nothing to make the belly get into an uncomfortable stance. So even like the heart melting pose, I don't know if she'd be comfortable like that, but they could totally try it where they just put the bolster on the back and lay down. But I think that might aggravate their sciatic or their vena cava as well. So just depends on the pregnant person. Oh yes, and in Banana Asana, this is also another one because of the tight neck and shoulders. They might find tingling if their arms are up like this too long, which means they need to back off, or they can release the arms and just work with the legs. So I do give people that permission because this is just a lot. This is a problem area for a lot of people. What else? No, that's it. That's it. Oh, when I come out of Banana Asana, I don't know why, you don't have to, but I tend to get them to come back to center and give themselves a big hug. So like bring everything back into a ball and then stretch back out and then go on to the other side. I will say in Yin, however you go into a pose and go out, just make sure you do that same exact thing on the other side.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be all flowy and stuff, but if you're going to go in one way, just make sure you go in that way on the other side.
When I did my Yin classes, the few time I did, they were doing a little savasana in between the poses.
Yeah, that's the
This
lady
is
that I was
normal.
telling you about.
Okay.
So the lady I was telling you about made us do like a mini shavasana.
Okay.
Every time.
Every time, yeah.
Every time. That is 100% acceptable. Because I will tell you, I always tell people, they're like, oh, I have all these Yin poses. This is what I'm going to do today. And my thing to them always is, that's great, but I don't think you realize how much time goes in between going in and out of a pose. So even if you have all these poses and you're like, I'm going to do everything for 3 minutes each, this will fill up my hour, you're going to notice when people come out of this stuff, they're going to come out really, really slow. And it's like they're going to need to do some, they can do windshield wipers to get out of something, or like, you know, just move it around and then take a mini shavasana. That's how that lady did it. That's why when I was saying she didn't flow, that's how she did it. She would get us in a really great spot, and then she would get us out of it, and then she'd be like, and breathe. And it was probably, to get in and out of a pose with the mini shavasana, it was like 3 minutes in between each asana we actually had. So it does take up time, but I will tell you, people need that stillness and that integration. So giving them a mini shavasana during Yin is, between each pose, is great, because then it gives them a moment to move things around and go, okay, so it's the hip, or okay, it's my shoulders today. That gives them time to integrate what they just went through. So absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Beautiful. Any other questions about Banana Asana?
No.
No. Just seeing to make sure I got everything else. Something like that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and just remember, like mini shavasana, but also like I said, you can bring the knees into the chest. You can rock back and forth while you have the knees. We just want to make sure that nobody is like getting in stuff and then like rolling back and forth like they would to like get their energy out before shavasana. We just want to make sure they're doing everything with stillness and intention. That's it. So if you want to do shavasana in between every pose, I say go for it. I have taught like that before, but that was with my advanced students, who everybody holds everything from say 5 to 15 minutes. So it's like people who I've known have practiced for years, I give them a mini Shavasana, because once you hold something for 10, 15 minutes, coming out, you need a minute for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I will say that is our day, and I'm sorry we ran a little over.
Don't worry, it's okay.
Okay. And then what I will do tonight is I'm going to do my best to edit these as quickly as I can, edit these videos. And just remember that we went through basically chapter 1 and 2, and then the first couple of asanas in the book. You're welcome to read those chapters or read through the asanas, whatever you'd like to do, because that's the only thing I'm going to tell you to do this evening. We don't have any homework as of yet. Homework. So just kind of read, go through your notes, and make sure when we meet tomorrow, the first thing we'll do is a Q&A, so questions and answers. So anything you need clarification on, anything you came across, and then we will go from there.
Okay.
All
Thanks.
right?
Yes.
Awesome. I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. then.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Have a good one, love.
You too.
All
Bye.
right, bye-bye.